In the world of modern MMA, every punch and every takedown can be the end of a fight. Sometimes, luck helps fighters pull off stunning upsets who, on paper, have no chance. However, we appreciate and want to tell you about such fighters whose success and achievements are the result of hard work and a creative approach to destroying an opponent. Nowadays, the top heavyweight division is filled with quite familiar names. But over the past couple years, a new star with a bad habit of knocking out opponents in the first round has been able to shine there. Sergey Pavlovich doesn't just win, he dominates. Welcome to all the viewers of this video, where we'll take a look at some cool knockouts of a dominant Russian. He is a relentless knockout machine. He doesn't just punch, he destroys, turning every fight into a show of incredible power and skill. You must admit that not many fighters would want to be dubbed the new Brock Lesnar, and all this for his invincible strength and size. And although he suffered his first career defeat in his debut fight under the auspices of the UFC against Alistair Overeem, he showed in subsequent fights that he belongs in the most famous promotion on the planet. Without further ado, let's see how Sergey Pavlovich set the trend of ignoring the second and subsequent rounds. Pavlovich started in Dana White's promotion with a 2-1 record, and since his 2 victories in 2019, the fighter seems to have disappeared. It's not known for sure why he had such a long downtime, but he returned to the octagon only in 2022. At the tournament in London, he fought another Russian heavyweight, Shamil Abdurakhimov. The fight started with a gradual exchange of blows. The fighters were in no hurry, so it all looked like chess. They had their eyes firmly fixed on each other's hands to control every move. I don't think anyone expected a fight on the ground. Both fighters tried to establish control. However, Abdurakhimov spelled defeat for himself. An unsuccessful leap forward in the middle of the round, and he missed several times from a strong opponent. The Dagestani continues to attack a little more actively, but Pavlovich has simply chosen a counterattacking tactic and uses uppercuts as his main weapon. One of them lands right on target, and there was no chance to react. The only thing left to do was to finish off the opponent from below. This knockout is only ranked 5th for 2 reasons. And no, it still looks gorgeous enough for us to mention it in our video. First of all, the stoppage was early, as literally everyone wrote about it. And the second thing is that the hero of our video was struck several times on the back of the head during the execution. We certainly don't approve of this, but we understand the emotions. He was hungry for the big game, so he was trying to force his way into the Performance of the Night award, and so it happened. But let's go back to 2019 and recall the first award for the Russian for Performance of the Evening. The tournament in Singapore met Morris Green. Sergey Pavlovich got a fairly passable opponent, but you have to make a name for yourself from the bottom. Pavlovich demonstrated an aggressive fighting style in all its glory, responding to the Americans' leg kicks with successful jabs. Each punch landed exactly at the customer's address, so we could observe Green's slow collapse in this fight. He literally went through stages from denying the imminent defeat to absolute acceptance of this result. The denouement was quick. The Russian invites his martyr closer to the cage with a good jab, and then starts pounding on the head with his right. He has a terrible right hand. The culmination is the fall of Maurice Green. After the fight, Sergey said that he had been preparing for all 3 rounds, as knockouts always come spontaneously, and it seems to us that he is being disingenuous. You can count on one hand the number of fights with this Russian where the fight lasted at least beyond the first round, so he's really wasting his time preparing for rounds 2 and 3. The fight between Sergey Pavlovich and Tai Tuivasa took place at the UFC Fight Night tournament in Orlando. Dear friends, we would be very glad to hear from you as we try to discover new names and showcase famous fighters as real kings of mixed martial arts. So if you've already liked it, we'll continue. Pavlovich dominated the fight from the very beginning, demonstrating precise and technical boxing. It was enough for him to get hit a couple of times to get himself in and not retreat for a moment. The poor Australian had only one tactic, and that was to try to punch as much as he could and hope to hit where the Russian's head would be. But no miracle happened. He just got hit in the jaw over and over again. Everything was so brutal that it took Sergey some miserable 54 seconds to paint his victory on the face of Bam Bam with red paint. And this fight once again confirmed Pavlovich's status as a serious contender for the UFC heavyweight title. The fight against Derek Lewis could have turned out to be anything for Pavlovich, but we all understand that whoever eats the beast becomes the beast himself. Their fight took place at the UFC 277 tournament. It's quite difficult to comment on it because it wasn't even a whole round or even a single minute. It took 55 seconds for the Russian to bring down the storm of the entire division. Again, in early stoppage, Derek is not happy, but it was a matter of a few more seconds. It seems to me that Sergey Pavlovich's super ability is his accuracy. He holds his stance confidently and just hits his opponents. Lewis doesn't even have time to open up in this fight. The Russian can afford to hit fewer times, but hit with each of them. That's why he has such easy victories over seemingly almost invincible titans. This fight gave the Blonde his fourth straight knockout victory and raised his overall record to 16-1. Pavlovich showed his power and speed, demonstrating excellent fighting form. If not for the premature stoppage, maybe another award for performance of the night would have been in his pocket. So we've come to review the most high-profile victory in Sergey Pavlovich's career. It is noteworthy that the fight lasted a very long time compared to the others, 3 whole minutes. An obscene luxury. Going into this fight with Curtis Blades, the Russian clearly understood that a victory would guarantee him a title claim. At the time of the fight, the Russian was already ranked 3rd in his weight, and the American was ranked 4th. The fight with the Russian finally topped the tournament. It was scheduled for 5 rounds, but as usual, it did not go to the end until about the 3rd minute. Everything was going on as usual for a match in which no one wants to play, and therefore the risks were minimized. But it wasn't like that all the time, and already in the 3rd minute, the fighters began to open up to each other without hesitation and go into exchanges, trying to interrupt the other side. It always reminds me of a cowboy shootout, where someone will eventually fall in a comical pose. And the American fell. Unable to withstand dozens of well-aimed blows, he could only catch headbutts, because the Russian's accuracy was on point that night. By successfully combining uppercut, jab, and hook, he was able to exhaust his opponent in just 20 seconds. And then he had to finish him off. Sergey Pavlovich's ability to finish fights in the first round undoubtedly makes him one of the most exciting heavyweight fighters in the UFC. In his last fight for the moment, Pavlovich faced an obstacle, suffering a defeat to Tom Aspinall. But for a fighter of his caliber, this is just another step on the road to greatness. At the age of 31, Sergey is at the peak of his powers. Heavyweights often reach their best form at this age, when strength and experience merge into one powerful stream. This is a time when he can use his experience, his stamina, and his explosive power to come back stronger and more confident. His prospects in the UFC remain bright, and his road to the championship is open. Our prediction is that this is a must-win fight for the right to be a direct contender for the title. His opponent, of course, is Cyril Gane. It will be a fascinating spectacle to watch these two giants fight, so we believe and wait. Once again, we thank you very much as our guests of the channel. We will be grateful for any support and promotion of this video, and be sure to write in the comments how you evaluate our work and Sergey Pavlovich's performances. It will certainly be an interesting read. In the meantime, we say goodbye for now. Stay with us and be ready for your own victories.